In this video, we are going to talk about how nasal vowels don't exist in English. So, in French, we have four or three nasal vowels depending on your accent: en, on, un. Those are usually spelled an, en, am, em for en, on or om for on, in or im for un, and un or for un. In English, when French speakers learn the language through reading, they often see a lot of words that are spelled with those same combinations of letters, but as we know in English, there are no nasal vowels, so you can't pronounce them as French nasal vowels. And the issue is when learners of English do pronounce them as nasal vowels instead of the vowel and consonant combinations that they're supposed to be. Let me give you an example. The word and, right? It's A-N-D, and. You can hear the A, then the N, then the D, and. Well, some people will pronounce it and. And when you do that in English, other English speakers are going to get confused because the closest thing to "ond" that they would be able to understand or that they'd be able to picture in their mind is the word "ond." By the way, the word "ond" doesn't exist in English. It's not a real word. So by pronouncing that vowel wrong as a nasal vowel, you're really changing people's perceptions of what you're saying. Another example would be the word land, right? L-A-N-D, land. If you pronounce it as land, that's going to be difficult to understand. And this comes up a lot in the word, for example, England. And now, interestingly, this mistake tends to happen mostly with an. I don't hear a lot of England. I hear a lot of England. But it can happen with en. For example, something that I heard recently was mental instead of mental, right? mental, mental. Um, what's another one that I heard recently? Oh yes, environment. Yeah, the area around us, or maybe nature. Environment. Somebody had pronounced this as environment. They did put a t on the end, so it's like a sort of weird combination of French uh, phonotactic rules, pronunciation of writing, and English phonotactic rules. So it shouldn't be environment, it should be environment. What else? Oh yeah, one that seems to be a problem for everybody is the word language. Okay, so it's L-A-N, language. Um, Also, if you're thinking, why isn't it language? I have another video about that, how to pronounce certain suffixes at the ends of words, age, ate, and ain. You can go and check that out. But anyway, language, it should not be language, right? It should be language. Now, you might think, well, Jan, that's really interesting because it doesn't really sound like language. It sounds like language. Isn't that a nasal vowel? We call that a nasalized vowel. And that's because there's no phonemic difference between a nasalized vowel and a non-nasalized vowel. What do I mean by that? I mean that we don't use those two different sounds to distinguish two different words, right? Language and language, it's the same word. We're not going to make a mistake. But if you say language, then it's like, oh, so that's not lan anymore. That's LON. Are we sure we're still saying language? It can make it a bit more difficult to understand. Um, Now, another one that I had with the sound en was campus. So the area in which a university is, that was pronounced campus. But again, compass, that's a word in Latin, Compus, that appears in the phrase compus mentis, which I think means like of sound mind, so able to make a decision because your mental state is normal for you. So if you start talking about the compass when actually you mean the campus, again, that can cause difficulties. Um, so those are all the examples that I had with the en vowel, and it is the one that tends to be the most often mispronounced. That combination of an, am, en, or em. But I did also hear one with on, so that's the nasal vowel on, which was conditions. Well, it's not conditions, it's conditions. Yeah. And that con, you may be tempted to pronounce it conditions, but it should be con, like the way the letter U is pronounced in the word cup. Yeah, cup, conditions. Um, I think those are all the examples I had. But if you're having trouble with this as a French speaker learning English, one of the tricks that I use with students is to imagine that when a word is spelled like and, instead of imagining one N, A-N-D, you can try and imagine two N's, and, right? And sometimes when people imagine two N's or they imagine two M's, that allows them to understand that, oh, this is not a nasal vowel, this is just an oral vowel. Yeah, hope that's been useful to you. And like I said, you can check out other videos for explanations of other sounds.